Obviously, the threat then is some sort of ram timing. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we head into the first game of the series. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Spawning in on the southeastern side of the map, we have Lucifron 7 playing as the Delhi Sultanate. And his opponent, who spawns in on the north side of the map, is TheViper, who is playing the English. Lidicor, how you doing today?
Ooh. The first thing that comes into my mind is that once again we have a map generation where the central sacred site is actually not directly in between the two other sacred sites. It's closer to one of the ones on the edge. So that helps Lucifron here just to be able to control two at the same time. There's still a big distance to cover in between them, but it's much easier compared to as if the sacred site was directly in between the two sacred sites on the edges.
Yeah, one of the things to note as well is this third sacred site down towards the south of the map looks a little bit more open towards Lucifron than it does towards Viper. So I will note that with regard to Lucifron's base, or in the earlier game that we saw, the third sacred site was somewhat hidden away from both players, a little bit more hard to reach. But on this map, it definitely seems quite open. So Lucifron going to be happy with this one, that is for sure.
He has to be happy. He already has the mosque up, and he is opening up with efficient production. That's probably his number one priority, because capturing sacred sites is nice, but as you said, the first thing that he needs is map control. So he wants to be able to garrison those scholars into the archer ranges and just start flooding those archers out.
Yeah, this is really nice to see from him. Now, I'm curious, what else has he got in queue at the moment? Because he's only got two things in queue. He does have the option to queue up all four techs, but he's only got, so he's got the Scholar tech coming in after this. So it doesn't look like we're going to have a super duper fast Scholar, or rather Sacred Site tech coming in here. Keep in mind that when Vortex played Delhi earlier, he actually dropped down a second mosque and was researching in a separate mosque for that technology. So maybe even throwing a little bit of a spanner in the works here, because Viper might have been preparing for this specific build that Vortex was building, or that Vortex was going, and now Lucifron mixing things up, not doing that double mosque opening.
It's possible. We have to keep in mind that the players knew exactly which order they will play their games on Saturday. So they probably know that, hey, Viper is going to look at Vortex's game, so he's gonna know what's up.
Exactly.
And we might actually see a completely different approach to the Delhi, sort of just baiting Viper into thinking that Lucifron is doing the same thing as Vortex. Council Hall for Viper and Dome of Faith for Lucifron, so that is completely identical to what we have seen before.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game and how this is going to unfold. The fact that he's gone for this technology first, to me, really indicates, so maybe he won't be going, say, a triple range, but he might be doing a double range with double scholars inside for an effective 4-range boost, and I really wouldn't be surprised. One of the things to note, does it look to you like that middle sacred site is a bit closer to Viper's base than to Lucifron's, or is that just me?
It is a little closer. I think this might also be closer to Viper's base, and the one on the south seems to be a tiny bit closer to Lucifron, so...
Yeah, not terrible, not terrible. I think Lucifron's still in a great position here, but plenty of resources on this map. This is one of my favorite maps, to be honest. I really enjoy playing on this map. There's so many forests out there, plenty of berries as well, and really sort of spices up the meta a little bit, especially seeing these civilization picks. So great to see the English out here. Great to see the Delhi. What are you expecting to see from Lucifron now that he is entering into this transition phase and about to come out of it?
He just went for a lumber camp, and he's sending quite a lot of villas on wood, so I definitely expect some production buildings to come up, possibly even 2 buildings. And I feel like he needs to play archer ranges, and I just don't trust the horseman being able to beat the longbowman. Viper grabbing quite a lot of sheep from the edge of the map, bringing them all the way back home. Will be a nice boost to his food eco.
Yeah, one of the things we actually see Viper also going to be dropping down that mill behind his base on the berries, despite having such a significant amount of sheep. So do we see him potentially look for a bit of technology, maybe? Maybe a wheelbarrow in here, potentially? We'll have to wait and see.
It's a possibility. I don't think scout hunting is legitimate for him. He only has 1 scout, so I would be a little surprised at that. But here come the longbows, and here's the deal with the longbow build. it's very, very wood heavy. It's 50 wood, but you need to have 50 wood per 7 seconds. So you need an insane amount of wood income. It's like 400 plus per minute in order to be able to sustain production on a single council hall.
Yeah, it works out to be something like about 24, 25 villages on wood to keep 100% uptime and houses as well. So, yeah, no real surprise there. But now take a look at this. The blacksmith going down at the south of the base and trying to hide away this stable, but not going to be too successful as we get a stable getting scouted out there by Viper on the back line. So very nice timing from him.
Yeah, Viper was probably looking for a production building, and he has found it. I wouldn't be surprised to see a barracks immediately as we look at this site. He's going for it, and this is what I was afraid of for Lucifron. On paper, this works pretty nicely because horsemen are supposed to counter archers, but they don't really do it. They don't have a single pierce armor, so they take full damage from every single arrow. We have tried it in the 2v2 WWF charity event to go for horsemen against archers with Kasva, and we died so badly.
Yeah, it really doesn't surprise me. I think horsemen may need a buff at the moment, maybe a +1 pierce armor or something, just to give them that little bit more. But now we see another blacksmith getting thrown down here on the back line, and that first technology coming through. It's going to be that +1 pierce. And I think the fact that he's dropping or starting out with this stable here on the back line and sort of keeping these units hidden, to me, it indicates he doesn't really want to fight at this point in time. He wants to wait for this +1, and it's going to take time for him to get there. But I love the fact that he's mixing things up, not going for these sacred sites, not going for infantry-based play at all. So really keeping Viper on his toes here. And now Lucifron going to be in a bit of damage right now, a bit of trouble rather, as Viper moves in and looks to split the arrows from those and taking both of them out in the same volley. Very nice micro right there from Viper, getting the 2-for-1, baby.
That was a beautiful double kill there, as it looks like Lucifron just wants to come in and raid. The problem with the horsemen is that they don't have an amazing damage output. And even if you get the +1 defense and +1 attack, a big mass of longbowmen supported by some spearmen will perform pretty well against them. At this point, though, I feel like Lucifron just needs to get up to Castle Age, because from Castle Age on, I actually like the Delhi a lot more compared to the English.
Yeah, speaking of Lucifron, looks like he might be fortunate enough to pick up a couple of free longbows here. There's a couple longbows on the back, throwing down that healing circle as well, but managing only to take down one, and at the same time, he's got to be careful because not only is there a scholar moving out here across the map, it looks like it might get chased down by a couple of spears who've caught not only a crossbowman in this side, but this scholar as well. So now, Lucifron looks like he might be in a bit of trouble. Doing his best to try and play a bit defensive, but curious decision there from Viper, just throwing down palings. I think that might have been a bit of a mistake. He's going to try and get those. Oh, I think that scholar may have just survived, but now coming around, we see that there's plenty of horsemen here. Going to try and get a decent connection. They managed to get in on top of all of those longbows, and you can just see the damage that they're putting out, trying their best to fight against the villagers. And I think that scholar did go down on the back line. Unfortunately, it did. It falls down, so 75 gold just getting wasted, but that's okay because Lucifron is actually going to clean this up pretty effectively and just sticking to the longbows. Not nearly enough spears out for him, but now a man-at-arms going to be coming out here as well for Viper. How do you feel about this man-at-arms?
I love it. The men-at-arms actually perform pretty well against the horseman. It's an excellent meat shield type of a unit, and it just shreds the archers. It's all about having your own meat shield in here. Viper does not have the attack upgrade in just yet. Lucifron was missing the defense upgrade in that fight, and this is why Delhi are somewhat weak in early game. It depends on how you play it, of course, but this is their biggest weakness. It takes forever to get those upgrades in. You see that the defense upgrade is just now finishing.
Yeah, losing a couple more villagers there on the front line as well. It looks like another one might potentially go down. Viper might have to fall back here as those archers do push up with him. Healing upgrade coming in as well, and looking to connect on top of those longbows. And we see that Lucifron is focusing down all of these longbowmen. Plenty of longbowmen getting cleaned up here and trying to do his best, but having a bit of a tough time now as these men-at-arms do come out. And I think the question is, what is the appropriate response to these men-at-arms?
You don't have any. You don't have an armor-piercing unit. The best thing you can do is go for your own horseman, but those are just so fragile when it comes to arrow fire resistance, and a big group of longbowmen can pick off horsemen quite easily. So there isn't really a great answer here for the Delhi against the men-at-arms.
Yeah, this is a difficult spot for him. I really don't know what the appropriate response is. He does seem to think horseman is definitely the way of the future. He continues to make them. We see his stable is continuing to trade, or train them rather, but he's in a bit of a difficult spot. No available food for him at the moment. Sitting on 300 food at the moment, but not a lot of villagers gathering it up. Now going to continue towards the middle of the map and picking up some nice reinforcements here. Lucifron doing a decent job of cutting off a couple units, but not really going to be able to pick them up. So nowhere near as strong as the French intercepts, that's for sure.
That's definitely the case, and men-at-arms also perform a lot better here. Against knights, these men-at-arms would just die, but against horsemen, they actually are a very, very decent unit. You see, they have 3 melee armor, so they basically absorb 1/3 of the damage output of the horsemen.
Yeah, it's very, very significant. But now it looks like Viper going to continue pushing in around, look to potentially siege down this mining camp. So not a lot of damage, I'll be honest with you. And I think that in this position, Lucifron's quite happy to just lose that mining camp. He doesn't really mind as long as he's not losing villagers. But speaking of villagers, can we get a quick tally and check that villager count? How are we going? Viper sitting on 37 and 29 at the moment. Lucifron sitting on 31 and 24. So Viper up about 6 villagers at the moment. So significant difference between the two players. Viper looking to try and capitalize that early aggression and really put the nail in the coffin of his opponent at this point, but going to continue moving forward with those archers, doing a great job of just staying on top of the longbows and preventing a decent mass from beginning to build up. How do you think he's faring in this fight on the Delhi, Liticor?
I think he is doing the best he can, and he's actually taking an amazing fight. He's got his entire army together, whereas Viper had it split up. Some of that was just harassing the opponent, and that is 2 villagers being pulled for what I will be a forward tower, just so that he can get the network of castles bonus. I think that farm was a misclick.
You almost got it right. It was actually a forward farm, Liticor, but good try there. Now, plenty of men-at-arms here. And I think Lucifron realizes this might be go time. He's got to commit here. If this tower gets up on the back line, it could be spoiling the end for him. And he actually manages to chase away those villagers, says, no forward tower, no forward farm, no forward buildings on my side of the map, in fact, Mr. Viper. And he looks to clean up this villager. And having a lot of trouble with these men-at-arms, though. Look at the men-at-arm mass beginning to build. He's up to, oh my lord, 8 men-at-arms now?
That's a lot of men-at-arms. And if they get the defense upgrade, something that they don't have, they are virtually arrow fire resistant. So that's going to be difficult to handle.
Yeah, at the moment, doing 6 damage into that 3 armor, so they're getting about 50% efficiency. Once that +1 armor comes through, the +1 ranged armor comes through, he's only going to be sitting at about 33% efficiency on his attacks. So really going to be just tickling these men-at-arms. Going to need a lot of units to be able to one-shot those bad boys.
And now we have the +1 defense in for Viper, who is apparently just going for more and more men-at-arms now, although now there is a second range on the way, so it's going to be men-at-arms longbows for a while.
Yeah, this is a difficult spot for Lucifron. I genuinely don't know what he can do in this situation. And I'm really curious to know, you know, if we get to interview him, I want to ask him about this because I'm genuinely curious. For these extended fights, you know, Holy Roman Empire seems to be quite strong in this situation. And obviously the English, with their access to the Vanguard men-at-arms, are going to be able to do something very similar to them.
Here come the Scholars, and now that Viper has to sort of concentrate all his forces here, the Scholars might have a chance to get some of those sacred sites. In fact, is he gonna go... Ooh.
I think he's going for all 3 at the same time. Very, very sneaky. Very, very cheeky. You've got to be careful, though. Wolf getting in on the action up towards the north. He's not going to be having a good time there, so one of them going to be running back. Other one going to be heading up towards the north. A little bit more difficult to take that one in the center, but now plenty of archers coming out. And I think, is Lucifron... What is he up to at the moment? Because his military mass is not really building up at this point. Going to be sniping out a villager. So close, that villager. It looks like the knight is going to, or horseman's going to be heading over there. Manages to pick it off. And these men-at-arms just continuing to harass these archers and doing so much damage.
I feel like at this point, Lucifron just wants to snipe down those archers. You see that he's just committing and trying to pick off as many longbows as he can. Kind of feels like he just wants to grind down those numbers, and he's just going to be satisfied with the men-at-arms staying on the field.
Yeah, and now towards the south of the map, as well as to the north of the map, both sacred sites have been captured by his opponent. We see that Viper is going to try and neutralize those as quickly as possible. Already beginning to neutralize, but keep in mind they're going to pay themselves off so quickly. If he holds it for just, I think it works out to be about 25 seconds, it's going to return that gold for the Scholar. So he really wants to invest into those bad boys very quickly.
Viper is slowly gaining map control with those men-at-arms. The tower is still unfinished, but I feel like this is actually a good scenario here for Lucifron. The longer the game is, the more legitimate the Delhi becomes.
That's a great point, actually. Yes, the longer this game does go on, the more likely that the Delhi becomes a bigger threat. We can see he's got access, or he's researched all of those technologies that he's got available to him. He does have siege engineering, but yet to research that one just yet. Keep in mind, all of the Delhi technologies are for free. So he's sitting right now on all economic upgrades. We see that Mill is researching a couple of technologies at the moment. So he's going to have access to basically every single tech.
The thing that he doesn't really have access to right now is map. Really, he's being pushed off from his hunt. He has been pushed off from his gold previously. So he really doesn't have map control.
Yeah, that's a really good call. Now, one of the things to note, he's actually got plenty of horsemen out here, and he's going to be able to take these guys down. There's not a lot of longbows, but they get the bonus damage up against them. So as long as he's sticking on top of them, he's going to be a happy camper, because this mass is going to continue to dwindle for him. And now we see more sacred sites continuing to get neutralized up towards the north. But keep in mind, he's been able to neutralize that one, or keep that sacred site up for at least the last minute or two. And that's going to be bringing him in between 200 to 400 gold in that time.
Yeah, that was a nice one for Lucifron. I think the main problem for Viper right now is that he doesn't have a huge amount of longbows on the field, as Lucifron is just very relentless when it comes to picking them off. Just goes in and tries to snipe them no matter the cost.
Yeah, he's doing a really decent job. But now, on the back line, we see that the scout gets picked off. And speaking of scouts, Lucifron's actually researched professional scouts. So will we see some scouts coming out from him to look at bringing in into a little bit more safe territory, some hunts from out on the map? We could potentially see that.
It's a possibility. I just feel like right now he's just a little too busy to do that. You see that he could really use a new lumber camp here as well.
He really could, couldn't he? Look at that mining.
I feel like he's just full focused on these fights in the middle. The tower is still not finished.
Yeah, no villager coming out yet to build it. But look at the way he just focuses down those longbows. He really forces them back and just takes these fights on the front line. Are we able to check whether he's got +1 armor? Yeah, well, +1 melee armor for these. He does. Viper indeed has +1 melee armor. And having a bit of a difficult time, Lucifron is, as finely fitted leatherwork does come in for Lucifron. So he's going to have that +1 armor in this situation. Going to help him out as well. But farms down here on the south side of the base, and this is a difficult spot for Lucifron, because now Viper going to be pushing in and going to be able to idle up some of these villagers. How does he respond to these men-at-arms? They just continue to push forward. More and more villagers going to be getting taken down here. It's only a matter of time until the men-at-arms begin to raid through on those farms. A little bit of a decent mass beginning to build as well for Viper. Of those longbowmen, and now he's in a really difficult spot because those men-at-arms are going to continue to beat away at his enemy units, and it really starts to beg the question, how do you deal with men-at-arms in the Second Age? Because Lucifron saw them coming, he knew what he was up against, but still, he was unable to deal with them.
You don't really deal with them, because just as much as the knights are, you need some sort of armor-piercing unit to be able to deal with them. Archers won't crack it. Lucifron tried to go for horseman, but horseman versus men-at-arms isn't really a good matchup for horseman either. But
that's hilarious.
We will have game number 2 coming in. Down south, it is Lucifron as blue French, and to the north, it is Viper as French as well in red.
Yeah, now let's take a look at how these spawns are going to be happening. Viper to the north, having some pretty decent fish all along his shoreline, a lot of deep-sea fish. His opponent, Lucifron, has a bit of a dry patch just towards the west, so hopefully he's not sending a villager out there too early. I see a scout heading out in that direction, but undoubtedly going to be spotting that there's no deep-sea fish and hopefully heading out in the other direction. It doesn't look like he is. He's going to be committing to the wrong direction here, coming out to the left as well. Difficult for him, really, really difficult, because you want to be on those deep-sea fish.
That's some tough luck for him. It's not the end of the world, but it definitely is something that sets him back, and in a Mirror Civilization matchup, every little detail counts. Looking at the players' bases, both of them have fairly well volable sides. In fact, if you look at Lucifron's side, all he needs to do is just vol here in order to be safe from land aggression. For Viper, he needs to do a bit more work here on the north.
I see chat at the moment going a little bit wild, mentioning that there was apparently a demon on the stream. I don't remember making that sound, but it was probably me. So, do you remember me making demonic noises there, Lidicor?
If I wanted to be savage, I would say that you are doing it for 7.5 hours.
Oh, this Lidicor guy. You can't live with him. I was going to say the rest of it, but that's something my joke says. My joke says, my dad says, oh gosh, the time is getting to me right now, Lidicor, where it's 9 a.m. for me. We're early in the morning, but I tell you what, that is perfect game time for me. Viper now. Going to be adding in some fishing boats himself. Now, he's got access to deep sea fish. Let's talk a little bit about these mechanics. I mentioned earlier that Lucifron isn't going to have any clear access to that deep sea fish. Still going to be able to get out here on the water, though. Can you tell us a little bit about the gather rates for these two fish?
I'm not exactly sure about the precise numbers, but one thing that we know is that when using fishing ships, you gather much faster from the deep fish as you do compared to the shoreline fish. What I appreciate here for Viper, though, is that he's got 2 villagers out on the shorefish, because villagers do gather really fast from shorefish as well. And the thing I like about the 2 villagers is that a scout cannot fight against 2 villagers. It can take down 1 vill, but not 2.
Yeah, this is really, really smart. I love this from Viper. A really smart move. Lucifron going to be moving in now. He's got to be careful. He's going for a little bit of a naughty sniperino. He takes out the first. He's going to get a couple more. This is really, really cheeky from him. He's actually taking all of the sheep down. And Viper says, you know what? I do not mind. You want to go for it, you go for it. I'm going to take all of your sheep.
Just Viper things, yoinking all the sheep from the back of that scout. And the annoying thing for Lucifron is that he won't be able to do much here. Although the villager, it's getting a little low on HP. Behind this one, Lucifron does get housed, though, while he's microing this.
Yeah, only for a short time, though. He's okay now, but now on the same side of the map, Viper going to be doing the same to Lucifron. Now, Lucifron could always go in for a little bit of a sheep snipe himself, but not going to be doing it, at least not today.
Viper pretty heavy on the Woods, so is Lucifron. As things stand, we have 3 fishing ships for Mr. Viper. Lucifron is already up to 5, though.
Yeah, doing a decent job there. Now, one thing to note, Viper, not heavily on wood like Lucifron. So Viper on 5 on wood at the moment. Lucifron sitting with 9 on wood. Now, you might think this isn't much of a difference, but I assure you, this is a significant difference. So I'm curious to know exactly what Lucifron's got up his sleeve, whether he's looking to potentially add a second dock in during the transition period. What he's going to get up to, I am really not sure. Age up now going to be happening for Viper. And do we have the School of Cavalry? It is indeed the School of Cavalry. You can never be too sure whether it's the Chamber of Commerce on this map or whether it is the School of Cavalry. But School of Cavalry going to be the optimal choice here. We'll wait and see on Lucifron. He's about to click up as well. Let's see. He moves his villagers out right now. Slowly but steadily across now. He's having a bit of a walk around. He's going back and forth. He's faking us out. He's sitting on so close right now to getting enough and going to be dropping down. The Chamber of Commerce! We see it for the first time in the entire tournament getting dropped down here. I don't want to see a single bad word out of you, chat. This is amazing right now. We have got it, ladies and gentlemen. The #1. The first time we're ever seeing this landmark, Lidicor.
With such a well-defendable base, you can really justify that landmark. It's just such an easy roll-off, and you really don't need to have any kind of map presence on land when it's just so well-defendable. He went very heavy on wood, and look at this. He's even walling the other side, so it's possible that he's afraid of landings from Viper.
I think that is definitely going to be the case. If he can secure water here, this could be absolutely massive, and he's actually going to use the Chamber of Commerce to get a water advantage here. This is really smart. So Viper is going to be needing to drop down a market if he wants to be able to trade all of that food in. So take a look at all the fishing boats that they've got out there right now. Plenty of fishing boats that is just going to be collecting food. There's no fish, or there's rather no wood, no gold. But those are the 2 resources that you need to be making hulks, which are the Age 2 attack ship for the French. So how does he get that? What he's going to do is going to try and put down a market and then sell all of that food. But with the Chamber of Commerce, you don't actually need to do that because it acts as a market already. On top of that, also gets 30% greater trade. So we could potentially see trade ships coming in on this map for Lucifron.
It's always a possibility. Trade ships return their value very, very easily. As we got Feudal Age for Viper a little faster than his opponent. He's got 2 docks up, but he won't be able to afford a second Hawk. Whereas for Lucifron, he is just now up, and I think he's also going to be able to just pump out 1 Hawk for now.
Yeah, we actually see him selling all of his food right there and doing his best right now to try and balance out that economy and get that second Hulk out. Viper managing to get that second Hulk out, but keep in mind, he's now got those good market rates as well because he was the first in to get the market. Has Viper dropped down a market just yet? It doesn't look like it. Sitting up there with about 400 wood or 400 food at the moment. And Lucifron really going quite heavy on this food economy. So doing a decent job there on that front.
Lucifron is also going heavy on the eco upgrades, grabbing both double Brodax and the gold mining upgrade. Whereas for Viper, there seems to be no evidence of any kind of eco upgrade being grabbed right now.
Oh, I'm already calling it for Lucifron at this point. This is looking very nice for Lucifron. So walling up like crazy right now, this is a good sign. But the fact that he's getting these eco upgrades really, to me, is the telling sign. He knows. He is prepared. He has got a build order in mind. And it doesn't start in the early feudal. It starts in the mid-feudal. That's where he's really going to be looking to push his advantage. 2 Hulks now coming out for Viper. Lucifron, that's where he's going to be looking to meet him, out in the center of the water. And now we see that 1 Hulk beginning to move out. Just doing a little bit of scouting. He needs to be careful, though. But keep in mind, player's going to be spinning to win in this matchup.
Lucifron has gotten additional sails, so he's got the mobility advantage. He can disengage if he doesn't like a fight. And what is happening on water right now favors Lucifron. There is absolutely no water fighting going on, so he's gonna be happy to sit on 10 fishing ships compared to Viper's 6.
Yeah, so keep in mind, though, Viper is getting that delicious deep-sea fish compared to the shore fish of Lucifron. So even though he's down on fishing boats, he is going to have slightly better gather rates. But yeah, look at the distance now for Viper that he's going to have to travel for that. But Lucifron now going to be moving out with his 2 Hulks against Viper's 3 Hulks. He's got to be careful here. Do we have any more Hulks in queue for Lucifron at this point in time?
Looks like there is one coming in. He may have spotted Viper's ships for a moment, and I think he knows that Viper is coming from the left. Viper probably also knows that Lucifron is back there, so it's like no one wants to take this fight simply because they know that if they lose this fight, it very well could snowball the entire water in the favor of the opponent.
Yeah, and especially with when you push in, you're pushing away from your reinforcements and you're pushing towards your enemy's reinforcements. It's that same Doppler effect that we've talked about before, where as you get closer, the advantage becomes more significant for your enemy. On top of that, you've also got fishing boats that are going to be that could potentially be pulled to heal, and then also you've got the dock AoE, which heals up in Age of Empires 4. So now we spot Lucifron also going to be patrolling out here towards the east of his base, where Viper continues to look for more fishing boats, but nothing yet for him.
Lucifron is doing an excellent job just tracking Viper's vessels, and he knows exactly when Viper is closing in.
Now we got a little bit of a spin to win happening. So you might be wondering, why are they spinning their Hulks? What's the deal with that? If we click on a Hulk, you're going to see that there is actually a radius on both sides of these Hulks. This represents 2 individual ballistas. And these ballistas, because they've got there's 2 individual ones, they have different cooldowns. And so the reason why the players spin their Hulks is so that they can get shots off on both of their ballistas. And ideally, you have 1 shoot, 2 shoot, 1 shoot, 2 shoot, 1 shoot, 2 shoot. And then that way, you're going to maximize the damage that your units are putting out. And that is why we say spin to win. Because if you really want to get the most out of your units, you're going to need to spin.
There's also some extra added cheese once you get to Castle Age, because you can get an extra ballista on your attack ships once you get there. So far, it looks like Viper is actually closer to Castle Age than his opponent. He's already at 800 food.
I think the question is, what do you gain by going up to Castle Age in this matchup, in this situation? Now, obviously, there's a couple of techs that you've got access to by going up to, so things like obviously you've got the Galligus, which is the unique ship. Keep in mind, it's quite an expensive ship, and of course you've got the demolition ship, but there's also armored hull, which increases armor, that extra ballista that we've talked about. But there's also, I can't remember the name of it, there's that lookhouse, that lighthouse thing, the little lamp upgrade. Navigator lookout, that's exactly it. Weapon range increased by +1. There's a really important upgrade.
I feel like the danger when it comes to aging up to Castle Age is that that's a pretty big resource investment, and if your opponent just goes full ships, he's gonna be able to destroy you before you get to castle. Looks like the 2 navies will pass each other.
Oh, he's got to be careful. Viper might get 1 ship pick off here, but doing his best to circle back around. He's got a significant mass here as well. He's got to be careful, Lucifron, because he's going to be moving towards his enemy, but at the same time, reinforcements are potentially going to get cut off. Now a couple Hulks going to be on the back line, picking off those fishing boats and now moving over towards those misty seaweed patches.
Looks like Lucifron will have to retreat here. I think now Viper has also gotten additional sails, so Lucifron doesn't have the mobility advantage anymore.
Yeah, and we see that spinning continuing to happen, and both players, and now Lucifron looks like he might be in a bit of a difficult spot as they begin to spin to win. It looks absolutely hilarious as players try their best to continue firing down, but actually a couple of ships of Vipers go down, and on top of that, Lucifron going down as well. Looks like Lucifron might be up in the battle, actually. Lucifron taking names right now. Viper's ships going all the way down. A couple of ships remain for him, but Lucifron actually going to pick up some early victories right here. This is looking good for him.
This is looking very, very good for Lucifron. He seemed to have the numbers advantage the whole time, but slightly better spinning can also help quite a bit in these battles, and from this point on, this could start becoming a snowball. Although Viper will pick off quite a lot of fishing ships here.
Yeah, this isn't where the real battle's fought, though. Viper, unfortunately, having a little bit of an oversight there, bringing those Hulks down towards the base of Lucifron, and really, as a consequence, losing that battle in the middle. He could have had an overwhelming victory right there. But now Lucifron's got to be careful. If these Hulks get too close to his enemy Hulks, they will just simply die because there's too many for them to deal with. But now Viper's in a difficult spot. This could spell the end of the game right here as these Hulks continue to move across the north. We watch them as they shadow in these Hulks, and look at how fast they move. But Viper now going up to the third age, but he's going to be in a difficult spot because he may actually lose his docks in the meantime. And now Viper trying his best to keep as many units as he can alive, but at the same time take out units of his opponent. He's going to continue shadowing them up the coastline, and it looks like he's going to be losing all of his Hulks for this little bit of a oversight, I guess is probably the best way to say it. But is there any way that he can get back into this game, considering at this point how far behind he is on water?
One or two demolition ships can definitely do the trick, and I feel like it was a good move from him to just pull the forces of Lucifron to the left side, just buy himself a bit of a time until he gets some demos in. Now, when it comes to demos, one or two demos won't do the trick because the attack ships still do a lot of damage against them. But the idea is that the rate of fire of these attack ships are quite low, so you can just jump on them with like 4 or 5 demos and sink them quite easily.
Yeah, and so we already see the first demos now coming out. He's got to be careful. He's got to avoid letting these demos build up. So we already see one demo making its way across the pond. Second demo was over towards the left-hand side of your screen, also going to be heading out and looking towards a potential economic attack, or maybe even looking to hit the docks. But right now, Lucifron is looking incredible. He's looking really, really strong. And now coming down towards the villagers, does he manage to spot the fishing boats on the edge of the ocean right here? It looks like
nope,
he doesn't spot it. So the the two demos linking up, and now going to be taking out the first, and we actually see a little bit of a gimme right here at the dock. So hoping that the demolition ship just spawns and gives itself up, but it actually looks like the demo first one has gone down. Second one going to be exploding in here and taking out one fishing boat, managing to hit the second fishing boat, but it did survive. And now Lucifron is in an incredible position because he has got access to trade on that all-important island out over to the east of the map.
And he also managed to keep quite a lot of his fishing eco alive. Viper, he tried to snipe the fishing eco of the opponent. That's pretty standard. In Age of Empires 2, we also see that quite a bit. You know that you're losing water, so the best thing you can do is just sink the opponent's fish, so that at least he's not going to have any advantage from having that. But that was a failure there for Viper. And now Lucifron, I think that 800 score difference in favor of him is justified.
Yeah, I think from this point, Lucifron's definitely going to be able to just sort of chill out. He's going to be very happy with himself. If I was him, I'd probably even just, get a little bit of stone going, maybe even just stone wall off that main entrance. Just buy yourself a little bit of time here. And so that way that you can guarantee, any enemies that do try and make their way through are going to have a difficult time. But keep in mind that Lucifron's actually got a natural wall to the south here. And any potential threat coming through here is going to have to deal with Hulks. That's the first and foremost thing. So it's going to be really hard for Viper to actually push into here without having some form of siege. Whether that's Springles, whether that's Bombards, he's going to need something, and that's going to take time. And time is not what Viper has.
Viper coming in with some spears. Lucifron, knowing that he already won water, he's also going to start focusing on the land aggression. Chivalry just now coming in. It's probably going to be just spearmen and knights together for our blue player.
Yeah, this is something that we can definitely expect. My main concern at this moment is a timing window, but Viper actually looking to go for a 3 TC boom at the moment. So just talking a little bit about that. Obviously, the French town centers, they produce faster. I think this is actually a pretty reasonable solution to this problem. Now, Lucifron has reached the castle age. He's got a significant bonus on water, but a lot of that score is that water bonus. And so when you subtract that and you say, okay, well, what are they actually going to do on land? Well, it's actually not that significant because Viper's got the 3 town centers. He's got the guild hall up. Lucifron also with that guild hall up as well. But his land economy is going to be significantly behind Viper's.
Currently, we are at 77 villagers for Viper, and Lucifron is at 81, so Viper is able to compensate for his lack of water economy with just an amazing food eco, and in general, an amazing economy on land.
Yeah, he's done a great job with this. And I guess my main question now is that once one of the players has lost the water, is there any way for that player to actually remain in this game? And not just that, because there are multiple levels of this, okay? You've got number 1 is the fishing economy. Number 2 is the trade economy, if that player does seek to do that. Number 3 is the Hulk that continues to patrol the shoreline and forces you so that you can never get close to that shoreline. Any of those resources on the shoreline are not going to be accessible for you. And number 4 is demo ships. For anybody unaware of demo ships and their interaction at the moment with land units, let's just say it's a little bit explosive.
On literal terms. One of the things that Viper could do is get a couple of Springolds out, because the Hulks only have 6 range and Springolds do have 10. So you can use Springolds to try and snipe those Hulks from the shoreline and try to redock yourself if you want to.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. Being able to redock. Did he just... Did he delete that?
It felt like it.
Can we check his population? Was he popped for a short time and he's like, I'm just going to delete that?
No, there is no way.
There's no way. Is there any potential siege in the area?
I haven't seen it there. No. That is just such a weird thing, because in order to delete a unit, you have to keep pressing a button. It's not just like, okay, I'm gonna press a button and accidentally delete it. You have to hold down a button to do that.
Was he deleting walls or something and accidentally misclicked a Hulk across the map? Like, how did that happen?
Such a weird thing.
Yeah, that was really strange. The chat right now is saying that it was burning. Is that even a thing? I know houses burn, but...
I think you can set ships on fire, but it's pretty rare, and I don't think it was burning. You see that the model of damaged ships looks like they're burning, like these guys. But you see, this is not taking damage either.
Yeah, weird. That's really strange. All right, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Maybe go back and watch the replay and see if we can spot any secret Springolds shooting their secret Springold attacks.
I think the ships that are burning also have the indicator on the top of the unit, and I don't think I have seen one. But I think Twitch now has a feature where you can rewind 2 minutes, so that's a perfect use of this one.
All right, Twitch, you guys have got your solution. Apparently someone says it was attacked by a wolf. It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time, but now let's talk a little bit about mid-game compositions. We've got Rams that are going to be coming out now from Lucifron, obviously in H3, so really looking to put the hurt on Viper. We've actually got a little bit of trade happening on Viper's side of the map as well. Take a look at this. So he's got some caravans heading out and collecting up some very, very nice relics. Ooh, that's a fishing economy right there, isn't it? Damn, girl, look at the size of that. Far out. That is big. Okay, that is a lot of fishing boats.
That is a lot. But that also means that he's depleting the shoreline fish and deep fish quite rapidly, so as we go deeper into the game, this will become more and more inefficient. Not only because the distance between the fish droplets and the docks will increase, well, if you don't count the 1 or 2 deep fish sources that he has, but it's also because his fishing ships will bump into each other.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, speaking of bumping into each other, some of the village is going to continue to bump into each other as they begin to siege down this battering ram. Battering ram, unfortunately, they're going to be going down without getting any real villager kills there. So battering ram not getting pulled back in time. Lucifron going to be feeling the nerves undoubtedly into this game, and now looks to do a little bit more damage in Viper's base. Viper going to be going up to the 4th age. It looks like he might be going up with the, I can't remember the name of it, but it's the castle landmark, and probably putting it down on the front. Yeah, the Red Palace coming down. So no surprises there. This is a great landmark for him in this position. But obviously, by going to Red Palace, he is not going to have culverin for the rest of the game. And I think if Lucifron picks up on this, he can really take an advantage here significantly.
Yeah, Lucifron needs to finish the game, though, because I feel like one thing Viper could go for in Imperial is hand cannons. Something that Lucifron might have trouble with.
That is a great point. Do keep in mind, Lucifron's always got the option to go up himself to the next age. He's only sitting on 40 food at the moment. It's just gone up to 130. He may actually be going up himself. Are we able to switch over to his perspective and see whether he is going up as well?
Nope.
Doesn't look like he is. No age up at the moment, but plenty of wood, plenty of gold in the bank for him. I'd love to see him begin trading now. But it looks like this second town center going to be going down. How many villages have we got on Viper at the moment?
Viper is sitting at 109 villagers. Not ideal, but I mean, at this point, it's all about surviving this and just trying to extend the game to Imperial.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's doing at this point. He's looking pretty decent. Now we see the men-at-arms continuing to fight. We probably have got elite men-at-arms coming through. Is that on this front barracks here? Have we got elite men-at-arms? Maybe no,
nope.
elite men-at-arms coming through just yet. This is a tough spot. Crossbows now going to be coming out as well for Lucifron to counter that men-at-arm push. And take a look at this Red Palace. Watch how fast it shoots down these units. It shotguns these guys so quickly. Boom. Just one-shots anything. It is so insane how much damage these guys do.
And
Look at the Red Palace go!
It has an insane range as well. It has 10 tiles of range, and we will have cannon emplacements coming in for Viper. I think the Red Palace is the best castle or keep type landmark. We have quite a lot of civilizations. The Spasskaya Tower for the Rus, or the White Tower for the English, but by far the Red Palace is the most impactful.
Agreed. It is, in my opinion, it is the best palace landmark. Look how much damage it's doing to those fish. Look at the damage that is just coming in right there. You see how much damage is being done. So the way that it works is for every unit that's inside it, it shoots an extra arbalist attack. And an arbalist attack for the Red Palace does 60 damage. This thing, absolutely, I was going to say it the F word, but I'm not going to say it because there's a PG stream and everybody in here is family friendly. So we are going to say that thing is good at the game. Watch out.
Cannon now coming in.
How many units is he losing?
He's losing a lot because most of his units are trickling inside the radius of that Red Palace. That's almost a perfectly placed building. If it was one tile more to the outside, it would cover this entire area. But Lucifron lost a lot trying to get through there, and now Viper is taking down those buildings. I feel like Viper is stabilizing.
I got to agree with you. Viper is looking very, very strong as we see those cannons now beginning to sit on the shoreline. Now, keep in mind, Viper, by going for this landmark, is not going to have access to the College of Artillery. And the College of Artillery is the only way that the French can actually gain access to the culverin. Without the culverin, it means that you're going to have a difficult time fighting these artillery wars. So we see more bombards now going to be coming out for the Viper, and more of those hulks are going to be going down, so probably needs to move those away. But Viper, once again, having a few knights in his base. Not the first time, and probably won't be the last.
I just want to highlight how Hulks are actually able to take a somewhat competitive engagement against Imperial Age cannons. That's just ridiculous. It's a Feudal Age unit that's just fighting off an Imperial Age cannon. Eventually the cannons win, and Viper seems to stabilize. But that was very costly for Viper for sure.
Yeah. So I guess my question from here is, where do we see Lucifron go? What do we see him evolve into? At the moment, how many villages is he sitting on? We take a look at his villager count at the moment. 127, so not terrible. But these bombards are going to make short work of any type of military that gets rallied to the front line. And we actually see a little bit of a drop happening. I don't know whether he's dropping these or picking them up, but either way,
he's trying to drop them, but I think they freaked out a little bit. But that's where Lucifron is going. He's still Castle Age, and he's not going into Imperial, so he just wants to play with transport ships and start raiding.
Yeah, well, speaking of Imperial, it looks like Lucifron going to be clicking up any second now as he chases away these cannons. This is a lot of resources right here that are going to be going down if Viper manages to lose these and not be able to heal them up. But now we've got some spears coming in together with some men-at-arms. Are these elite men-at-arms just yet?
Yes, they are.
Veteran spearmen and elite men-at-arms. There we go. So now the bombard's getting down, managing to make their way back towards that castle. Are we able to click on one of those caravans and see how much gold those bad boys are bringing in? It's got to be a lot. Whew, 139.
That's
Jeez
impressive.
Louise.
Look at the way that Lucifron is using the French bonus, by the way. Inside the influence radius of this keep, the archer ranges and stable unit cost 25% less, so you can spam those knights like there is no tomorrow.
Yeah, but speaking of no tomorrow, Lucifron now reaching up the 4th age and going to be going up with the High Armory. I think it's called, not High Armory, it's called the School of Armory? The College Armory? The
College of Artillery.
College of Artillery. There we go. I knew I throw enough words at the wall, eventually it's going to stick. But now you can see that Royal Culverin is there. Now keep in mind, Viper's actually got villagers on top of his cannons. So he's going to be able to heal through any of that Culverin damage. Probably going to need at least 2 Culverins to be able to one-shot these cannons.
This building is also very much at the back, so it takes some time for the Culverins to arrive on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. And now we've got a forward keep coming up for Viper. And I tell you what, this is an impressive game coming out from these two players. I will be honest with you. I think a lot of people were expecting that this would be a boring sleeper snooze fest, but I tell you what, there's been a lot of action on a map like this.
There has indeed been a lot of action going on. Lucifron once again coming in with the landing. Viper's direct push seems a little bit more convincing right now, but Lucifron is the one that's able to harass Viper.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. How many villages have each player got, or has each player got at the moment? So Lucifron sitting on 136 and 39. Compare that over to Viper, who's sitting on 130 and 55. So Viper, significant military advantage at this point. And we just see constant raids coming in, but Viper being able to replace these villagers faster than Lucifron can kill them. Keep in mind, in addition to having 3 town centers, he also has the French bonus, which is plus 20%, or is it? I think it's minus 20% training time on villagers, which means from 20 seconds down to 16 seconds. So really, he's sitting at like 4 town centers. So he loses a vill, 2 of them pop up to replace. But speaking of popping up to replace, we've got ourselves a little bit of elite knights getting in on the action now, Lidicor.
Hand cannon also in the party, that's gonna help quite a bit. And this is the problem for Lucifron. It's one thing that his knights will beat the men-at-arms, but they won't beat the hand cannons.
The hand cannons have got incredible damage on them. So I think it's 50 damage on each of those hand cannons. 42. So yeah, an incredible amount of damage for them. And that keep is going to go down as long as with all this infrastructure on the front line. And Viper looking like he's actually going to be able to take this game. He's doing really, really well at this point.
He is, and he's got the control over this market on the left side, so he's able to get some trade cards in. Whereas we don't see any kind of naval trade from Lucifron, so clock is ticking for him as he's about to run out of gold.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot for him. We actually take a look at the score right now. Viper up by about 2,500. So constant raids coming through from Lucifron and doing his best. But one of the amazing things to see here is that the only way to beat French on this water map is to lose water and then transition into a land economy, it seems. That Culverin, is that a Culverin or a cannon that's out down there? That is a Royal Cannon coming out now, but probably going to go down. Indeed it does. Viper managing to one-shot that Royal Cannon with his own cannons. But now going to be losing out majority of his units on the front line here as Lucifron retreats back behind his walls. A couple of villagers out here as well, putting down a bit of an emergency keep. But at the same time, I suspect that Lucifron may be in a little bit of trouble here.
He is. Right now, Lucifron is at like steady 25 army. Viper is at 55. And Viper's got population space for more. And dealing with those handguns is extremely difficult. They have insane firepower.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, the only real way for Lucifron to get back into this is a potential mangonel shot. That would be the only way. So I need to see like a double or even a triple mangonel shot come out, take all of these units out, and then maybe you could reset the playing field. But even then, you've got cannons to contest with, so it would have to be from like behind the tree line or something like that. Otherwise, it's just too difficult because he's going to continue this push. A lot of military here, a lot of infantry, and cannons on the front line are just going to continue sieging it down. We see just how much damage they do as well. There's no way you can out-heal this much damage. It's so much. It's so fast. They're going to be able to burn this keep to the ground. And Viper is looking like he's in a commanding position right now, Litter.
He is in a commanding position. Lucifron is trying to get his numbers up, but as you said, you need something that deals with those hand cannoneers, and it's just very, very difficult, because it's not like they actually have bonus damage against knights, it's just pure firepower. So basically whatever they get matched up against, as long as there's a meat shield in front, they can win that fight, and Lucifron knows that.
Lucifron tapping out Viper, beating Lucifron on his home map in his home matchup. Good game, well played, and congratulations to all the faithful of the Viper.
Absolutely stunning, and I'm not gonna lie, this is a heartbreaker for Lucifron, because he has been doing so well. He got water, and for some time it felt like he's just gonna overrun Viper's base with a bunch of archers, crossbows, and then the knights. But then Viper got that keep up, and that just shattered any kind of units that tried to go there. Lucifron gets transports out, tries to get some more raids in, but Viper was able to build up his hand cannon numbers, and from that point on, it was just downhills for Lucifron.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the pivotal moment in this game. You can actually see right there when you don't actually see the age up on this line, I don't think. Yeah, you can't see the Imperial Age up on this line for whatever reason, but I can tell you it's probably somewhere around it's hard to see where the losses actually occur, but I think that was definitely the pivotal moment in the game. When that Red Palace went up, so many units went down, and a significant mass was lost for Lucifron.
For the overwhelming majority of the game, Viper was behind in army numbers. So that just tells you that by the time we got to a point where fights really started happening in the middle of the map, Viper just had a better quality army.
Yeah, that's exactly it. One thing also to note, Viper was very careful about his position around the water. He was very cognizant of a potential demo ship coming in. And towards the end, we did actually see demo ships coming in and looking to try and get some potential hits, but not actually managing to ever connect with any of Viper's military on the land.
Yeah, Viper, once he lost water, he was like, okay, I lost this, so I better focus on my land push. And Lucifron tried to do the same thing, but the problem was that it was quite late to Imperial compared to Viper, and Viper just had an insane momentum with those cannons.
Yeah, there was a lot of momentum in his push. It was very significant. He was able to, begin pushing out those hulks, doing his best, but impressive stuff from the Viper. He's now on match point as he leads in this series 2-0. Lucifron is going to be picking the next map. He's going to be picking the next matchup. What options does he have, Litikor?
He is picking Hill and Dale, and I am happy to report that we're going to have a civilization matchup that we haven't seen today, I believe. Lucifron is picking Delhi, and the Viper is going for the Abbasids.
Oh my god. Oh my... I'm getting all giddy over here. Can I get some hypes in the chat right now? We have got Abbasid versus Delhi in the in the quarterfinals of the match point of Viper versus Lucifron right now. I don't think I've been hyped like this for a long time. The only way I could be more hyped than this is if I saw Chinese getting picked.
Yeah, it looks like Chinese will not get any kind of love today, and Holy Roman Empire also missing out the party, at least for today, unless we see more games. But based on what we have seen today, it's kind of unlikely that we're going to see either Chinese or Holy Roman Empire being picked. The countdown is on right now, so let's talk about how these two civs match up against each other. Because I feel like one of the things that could potentially work against that Abbasid Man-at-Arms Springald push is maybe elephants.
Sorry, Litikor, I'm going to disagree with you. Elephants, expensive and too much HP, and they would very easily get sniped down by the Springalds. So I think maybe if you had like a good flank, it could definitely work, but those Springalds, they're just so quick. And that's one of the things to remember is that if you get that upgrade for those Springalds, let me just check exactly what it's called right here. It is called Greased Axles. Increases the movement speed of siege engines by 20%. I don't think they'd be able to outrun elephants, but I definitely reckon they could give them a good run for their money in a marathon.
I think the key thing is getting those elephants out before the Springolds. I 100% agree that Springolds are actually a direct counter to elephants once you get like 6-7 Springolds out. The key thing is that you get 1 or 2 elephants out and you just don't let your opponent get those Springolds going.
Well, one of the things to note is that the Delhi do not have access to the Culverin. So don't be thinking about any potential fast Imperial. I kind of got my hopes up a little bit there. I was like, oh yeah, fast Imperial, that could work. But no, Fast Imperial probably not going to work here. I guess he could always go for a Bombard. Bombards do significant amounts of damage as well. But we can always see how that goes. But look, I'm really hoping for that Fast Imperial game. Are we going to see it? If there's a map that we're going to see it on, ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be this map right here.
It would be a risky choice, especially for Viper, because one way that Lucifron can sort of break the stalemate of this map, where one player is just booming and then getting a bunch of Springolds and Men-at-Arms out, is that Lucifron could just go for a sacred site and basically tell Viper, look, you either come out of your base now, or I'm just gonna get an insane amount of gold.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Oh man, this is gonna be good. I'm licking my lips. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm gonna play that song. I'm about to lose control. Hey, DMCA, Drongo. All right, we've got another 2 minutes before we enter into this game. Who is casting? Lidicor is casting with Aussie Drongo. They are your casters. Phew, close one there, Drongo. I know, right, Dima? I've already had one DMCA this week. I don't need a second.
Especially not on someone else's channel, right?
Yeah, exactly. 10,000 viewers, Aussie starts singing. Oh yeah, you know it.
Yeah, that's one way to lose viewers, if you start singing.
No, I think you lose viewers if you stop singing.
No. I don't think so. I think my viewers would be very, very happy if I stopped singing. Usually don't even let me start.
There's a comment in chat. I really love it. It's YMCA until DMCA.
True.
Yes.
Absolutely
yes,
true. Technically, you can have 3 DMCA strikes, so you can be aggressive until the first 2 kicks in.
YMCA. You hear my voice like cutting out. Like I'm so. It's too early in the morning for me. I'm sorry. All right. Well, we've got 40 seconds before we get into this game, Lidicor. Viper on Abbasid, Lucifron on Delhi. Viper's up 2-0. This is match point. This is Lucifron's home map, and he's picked the matchup as well. Who do you think wins this game? Go.
I'm going with Lucifron. I feel like Viper could have trouble adjusting to the fact that Lucifron is going aggressive for the sacred sites. Viper can also play aggressive, but then he sort of surrenders what is the strongest build of the Abbasids on this map.
I'm assuming that Viper is going to probably be going 2 TCs into Fast Castle, just the same as we saw. I think it was it the Mr. Do? No, it was I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's okay. We'll talk about it later because we've just spawned in, ladies and gentlemen, to the 3rd map in the series. Welcome to everybody, ladies, gentlemen, and beasts. Lucifron spawning in on the north of the map, going to be playing the Delhi Sultanate for us and his opponent, who spawns in on the south of the map, TheViper, going to be playing the Abbasid Dynasty. Now, keep in mind, we are in the quarterfinals right now on match point for a $20,000 tournament, and these players are picking these civilizations. I'm incredibly excited. I don't know about you, Lidicor, but I'm ready to get hyped.
Me too. Vegetarian diet here for Viper, not going for any kind of sheep or hunt. Goes immediately on the berries with his civilization. Same approach for Lucifron. These are the 2 civilizations that do get the berry bonus, as you see over here. 500 food on those berries, instead of the 250 that's there by default.
Now, are we able to take a look at the mini-map? Or not the mini-map, but the map for Lucifron. We can do a bit of an inspection of his base. So he's got 1 entrance to the left of his base, 1 entrance to the right of his base that are all... Then, of course, he's got that main entrance. Let's go take a look at Viper's base. Because on the right side of his base... Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So the right side of his base is very easy to wall. Left side of his base, very easy to wall. Now let's take a look at the middle of his base. A very interesting spawn for his forest.
That's definitely a weird spawn, and I'm not sure if I like it or not. Because from one end, you have to wall less. On the other hand, walling is usually not a big concern here in these games, and you would have one of your wood lines quite exposed. Whereas if you look at Lucifron, both of his wood lines would be very much safe behind his walls. So early on, this probably helps Viper. In the long run, it definitely hurts him.
Yeah, I think that that's a reasonable assessment. I'm willing to accept that as well, especially because as Viper looks to reinforce on the front line, he's not going to be able to go the short way. He's going to have to go the long way. It's going to take him maybe an extra 20 to 30 seconds to get his reinforcements out there. So definitely a difficult spot for him. But now we are going to see Lucifron getting those early techs in. We spot that he's going for the double mosque opening. This is an opening that we saw his brother do, Vortex, in the very first game of the Genesis quarterfinals today. And Lucifron now going to be doing the same thing, so going to be rushing down these sacred sites, I suspect.
He kind of needs to. What I would love to see, although it's very unlikely it's going to happen, is Lucifron making a couple of spearmen and walling Viper in. You can wall here if you're Lucifron with your spears, same thing here, and then Viper's got no chance of coming out without destroying those walls.
I guess one of the things to note as well, he's quite heavy on wood during this transition period. He's got a fourth villager that's about to come out, or about to finish up that lumber camp. And so he could potentially be doing something similar to that. We actually see he's got a scout moving across the map at the moment. But I definitely think on a map like this, securing 3 early sacred sites, do you go for a 2 TC boom as well as the 2 sacred sites? Or the 3 sacred sites? I think you could probably do that, couldn't you?
You probably can, simply because Viper won't have a lot of army on the field, or at least you don't anticipate him having a huge amount of army out there. Viper is definitely going for at least 2 town centers, whereas on the other side, looks like there's the Dome of Fate, and I don't see a villager on stone, so it's probably going to be just 1 town center build from Lucifron.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a timing window for Lucifron here. Probably early Castle Age, where he's going to have a very significant economy from these sacred sites. And then he's going to be able to potentially use that to convert into his siege. And so whether he's looking for a Springald Mass himself, definitely a possibility. The alternative is that he just goes with the good old-fashioned battering rams, the men-at-arms, and pushes in with a nice little timing as the deli. Keep in mind, he's going to have that House of Learning landmark that he can potentially build and drop down as he enters into the third age. But in the meantime, we actually spot that he has got a scholar out. Now, hold on a minute. How many scholars has he got out here?
He's
Well,
got
that scholar,
one.
just the one. Okay, so that scholar was actually from the initial one, and it's come over to help out with the research and learning of the second mosque. But now Viper got his little dagger out on his scout, going to be scouting out this scholar and say, hey, buddy, you get back where you belong, in that mosque.
That's such a nice idea from Viper. It was sort of expected that he's gonna move up and try to harass it, because he knows exactly that his opponent is gonna go for the sacred sites, which, by the way, are somewhat awkwardly positioned. You see there is no sacred site in the far left part of the map. All 3 of them are sort of towards the central area.
Yeah, this is a really good point, because often on this map you can get these spawns. We saw in the Don Artie Doubt game where both sacred sites, or 2 sacred sites, spawned on the very edges, or the very corners of the map. So now Viper clicking up to that all-important second age, going up with the economic wing. Going to be dropping down a town center now on this front wood line and looking to make his way through that inevitable woodline wall.
Here comes the first sacred site for Lucifron. Looks like he's got no army supporting this, so there is some risk involved, and he's going for a blacksmith. Double blacksmith.
Blacksmith. Wow. So he is really investing in the mid-game, and now we've got ourselves a little bit of a challenge because Viper's actually got a second scout out and going to be looking to harass these early scholars out on the map. And at the same time, we see Lucifron beginning to push out with his own scout and chase these away, but he didn't account for Viper having a second scout in this situation.
Do you think it was a little overly ambitious from Lucifron, believing that he can just get the sacred sites without any kind of army?
Yeah, it probably was. I think that he probably hoped to get these scholars out and about on the map and be able to take these without too much of a challenge. But the fact that Viper has foreseen this and subsequently dealt with this appropriately by, you don't even need a lot of military to deny this. Like, you're very happy, or you're very capable, rather, of just investing in a couple of scouts. And we actually see multiple scouts coming out for Viper. So a third scout coming out here as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see one scout camping on every single sacred site and just saying, hey, go for it, man. You can come for these sacred sites, but you're going to have to take them from me.
Indeed, it at least forces Lucifron to invest into some kind of army. We're seeing archers coming out, so those scouts won't be able to prevent Lucifron from grabbing the sacred sites anymore, but it definitely delayed it a tiny bit, and that's what Viper wants. He just wants to boom on 2 TCs as long as possible. And there's a stable for what will be horsemen from him.
Yeah, definitely looking pretty decent in this position. Wheelbarrow now getting completed for Lucifron and all those economic techs coming through for him. Still only 1 TC at this stage though, so keep in mind he is going to have to add that second TC if he wants to keep up with Viper on the economy side. On the tech side though, he's got those free technologies, so the longer the game goes on, the better access he's going to have to all those technologies. And keep in mind, it's a versatile army that he's going to be up against, Viper, because typically what we see is players with a lot of military options. But now, speaking of military options, a lot of archers going to be coming out in the center, getting healed up by this single scholar who stands tall and victorious on this middle sacred site. But do note, Viper has dropped a stable, and he is going to have horsemen out, and they've been scouted by Lucifron.
Indeed, Lucifron knows that horsemen are coming, so he needs to start mixing in spearmen, but he's doing it, and this is the moment where Viper is going to start losing control of the middle area, and Lucifron could easily get himself at least 2 sacred sites.
Yeah, this is a really good point. So now pushing out towards this sacred site, not going to be able to take this one. I'd be curious to see whether he goes for the other one, the initial one that's happened on the left-hand side of the map, but we don't actually see any units moving out in that direction just yet. Couple of archers moving out to reinforce, and it looks like a bitey infantry going to get in on the action as well, as it does its best to try and get a bite in there, but not going to happen. He's got to be careful now. These horsemen moving in on top of these military units. He needs to turn this monk or this scholar around and make sure it gets connected with these all-important archers, but it looks like he's actually going to be going down and hiding that scholar in the meantime.
Or at least he hopes so.
Doesn't look like he's hiding it that well, does it?
Yep. He was hoping to hide that, but that's not gonna be a thing. Now that the spearmen arrive on the battlefield, though, that scholar might actually live to see another day if he starts running home.
Yeah, if he can get some speed going on him, he might actually be doing okay, but I suspect he's not going to be waking up in time. Poor fella fell asleep at the keyboard.
He's making a run for it right now, and there is a spearman coming out.
Ooh, he might get it. He's going to get it. Viper manages to pick that one up, manages to get out as well, so 75 gold there being traded out, so pretty nice trade there from Viper.
And he was able to prevent Lucifron from grabbing that sacred site, so now Lucifron is gonna need to get another scholar in there, and he's about to lose one in the middle as well.
Viper all over him at this point, so he's tried to pull out the deli twice in this series, and Viper is really looking incredible right now, denying these sacred sites continually. So it is just, it's wild how good he is. The fact that there's still, we're at 10 minutes in, and Viper has allowed him only 1 sacred site at this point. A single sacred site. That is it. Not 3. Just 1.
And he's doing this with a pretty considerable military disadvantage. You see, he only has a couple of scouts, horsemen, but he's really doing a lot with very little.
It's incredibly impressive how effective he is right now. And Viper actually pushing up towards this middle sacred site and even looking to potentially take this one away. Now, keep in mind behind this, Lucifron getting all of his upgrades. He's got double broad axe coming in as well as the mining upgrade. But now he's going to be in a bit of a difficult spot as he gets forced off this sacred site. He's got to be careful here. Spears continuing to come over towards the sacred site. Going to be collecting these up. And now we're going to spot Lucifron putting out some damage on these archers as they do. And Spears getting into a great position up against these horsemen. Lidocor, it's looking tough right now for Lucifron, isn't it?
It is looking tough, especially if Viper picks that scholar off on the left side as well. Lucifron will be able to hold 1 sacred site, but I don't think it's going to compensate for the massive economy advantage that Viper has. Viper's at 46 villagers, Lucifron is at 37. That's actually quite
Not
even.
terrible. Yeah, it's pretty good. And considering he's got 1 sacred site, it's not all bad news. 2 spears are going to be coming out now to help, and a hardened spearman going to be getting picked up on the back line. The pokey boys doing a little bit of poking themselves. And now we spot the scholars running around in circles. The scout's doing its best. Now the scout can actually just sit on the sacred site and just be here forever, preventing the capture. Now, obviously, the other consequence of that is that he could do a little bit of a turnaround and force him off both ways. But he's going to continue patrolling that around. But now it looks like the scout will go down. Not enough APM to micromanage that at the same time. And a second sacred site probably going to get captured here.
And at the end of the day, the economies will be fairly even. In fact, with a second sacred site, Lucifron should be able to take over. Viper trying to snipe that scholar out there with the scouts.
I suspect he might actually be able to do this. He's trying his best. He's balancing the damage that he's taking in right now. This Scholar getting caught up in a little bit of a battle that he didn't want to get his hands dirty in. And now that Sacred Site is going to be slowly drained out. Are there any more Scholars that are on the way towards this Sacred Site? Because still, Lucifron has only captured one Sacred Site.
I don't think so. So Viper has to be happy about this one. Lucifron on the way to Castle Age. Viper as well. Viper's going up with the Culture Wing, I believe. Indeed, he does.
Yeah, Culture Wing.
Whereas House of Learning is coming in for Lucifron. All the standard things. But I feel like Viper has weathered the storm, and from this point on, it's once again Man-at-Arms Springald party.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So that Man-at-Arms Springald party is really going to be what sets them apart. And now, my main concern at this point, Lucifron must feel so frustrated. Against 99.999% of players, he would have won this game already by now because he would have had 3 Sacred Sites. He would have been defending incredibly well, but Viper just able to bide his time. The fact that he was able to get those 2nd and 3rd scouts out nice and early means he's able to deny that very first Sacred Site. But now we've got ourselves a bit of a raid here on the front lines of Lucifron's base.
That's a pretty decent raid here for Viper. I think he still has the advantage even without this raid. Simply because his unit composition will be far superior very soon, and he can just neutralize that Sacred Site soon. But he even gets 1 or 2 villager kills here, which is definitely good value. Looks like there is the spam of barracks from Viper. Almost up to Castle Age he is.
Yeah, plenty of resources in the bank account for Viper as well. He's going to be able to afford plenty of Men-at-Arms here and then be using those Men-at-Arms to be making all of the Springalds he needs. So he's going to be very happy with himself. But have a look at his resources. He's starting to bank up. Are we seeing what I think we might be seeing right now?
I hope not. I don't think a fast Imperial here is legitimate. I feel like it's more about, okay, you want to grab the defense upgrades and attack upgrades. You see there's 2 blacksmith available for Viper. He's going to have 5 barracks. I think it's going to be all about grabbing all the upgrades and starting to produce all those men-at-arms.
I hate it when you're right, Lidicor. It almost looked like he was going to do a fast Imperial right there. All right, not too bad, though. He's finally pushing out towards this Sacred Site, hoping to take control of it, but one of the things to note is that with this Sacred Site, look, he's just going to continue running a horseman around it. So cheeky, gets 1 stab on there, continues circling around, just Viper things, and now finally he's reached the Castle Age, and by rallying out units here, it's going to be incredibly difficult for his enemy to be able to capture this Sacred Site.
This build is already very difficult to counter, but it doesn't help Lucifron that he has spearmen and archers, the literal unit composition that just dies to men-at-arms.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. So both players now going to be up in the 3rd age, and finally we see that this opening in the front of the base has happened, and it looks like Lucifron going to begin pushing in. No siege at this stage for him, but he's got men-at-arms here, and these guys have got +1 defense, +2 defense, are obviously going to be coming in as well. He's playing the Delhi, so a lot of defense, but Viper actually sitting with the +2 range defense at this point. So I would look to potentially see some crossbows coming out of Lucifron anytime soon now.
Yeah, we may have underestimated Lucifron's chances here, because he's got quite a lot of infantry out, and we talked about the fact that Delhi men-at-arms are actually very powerful. Viper is off from wood for now, and there's a lot of idle time on his economy.
Yeah, 10 villagers inside that town center. A lot of those are woodcutters, but on top of that, he's also got the farms that are idle right now, and plenty of men-at-arms coming out. Can we go back to the House of Learning, back towards the main base of Lucifron? Just quickly and check whether he's got that all-important research. He has researched it, so that +4 damage, I believe. So we take a look at the men-at-arms. They are doing 16 damage. I think that's torch damage. 13 damage for Viper. And how much are those men-at-arms doing? 17 damage for Lucifron. So a significant damage boost right there. And it actually looks like Lucifron is going to be able to do some significant damage here, Lidicor. I don't think we expected this.
We did not. There was just no sign of him getting a lot of men-at-arms out, and as you said, he got that very, very important upgrade right at the beginning, and this overchop came at the worst possible time for Viper.
It really did. He he chopped one too many trees, and now we've got a Springald that's sitting out on the front line. Probably going to be going down to some men-at-arms here. Actually, he's pulled them back at probably the worst time. Okay, putting them back on now, so probably going to be able to get this siege in, but keep in mind the Springald is going to take its time to get through those the HP of those units. Going to be taking out that Springald now, and Lucifron looking pretty strong in this position as he continues to clean up Viper's economy. We see those villagers on the wood line just having a bit of a struggle. Viper sitting on 63 villagers right now. Lucifron on 53, but look at that military difference. 46 military out for Lucifron. If he gets on top of this military production, you can basically call good game as he continues to force himself over there. And Viper having a difficult time as this town center, 20 idle villagers inside of it, 9 idols in the other one. His economy is completely in shambles at this point.
He's got 29 idols all across his eco, and he's very far from cleaning this up, so yes, he has the villager numbers advantage in theory, but most of his eco is idle, and even if he can outspam his opponent in units, those men-at-arms are just simply better for Lucifron.
Yeah, and these men-at-arms are doing so much damage. You can see that they've got the +2 upgrades on them now as well that have come in, so +1 defense or +2 defense for both pierce armor as well as +2 defense for the melee armor as well. And look at this cleanup that's happening now. Continuing to spam in units. A 6 barracks equivalent spam right now for Lucifron. And despite only having 1 sacred site, he continues to show why the Delhi are actually so damn strong on this map, in this matchup. And Viper taps out. Lucifron claims the 3rd game, keeps his head above water in this series, and continues on to the 4th match in this series.
I am indeed. So welcome everybody to Arabia. On the northern side of the map, we'll have Lucifron playing as the French in blue, and down south it is Viper in red with the Mongols, starting pretty far away from a gold mine, I have to say. Not necessarily an ideal spot for his town center right at the beginning.
Yeah, not the best spot. A little bit tough. No gold mine immediately adjacent to him. Stone mine a little bit far away as well, but I mean, that's kind of to be expected, but I mean, this is about the worst that you could ask for. I mean, typically you're going to have pretty decent spawns as the Mongols, as long as you got that tree line nearby, but Lucifron towards the north of the map, going to be playing French, going to be feeling comfortable in this matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing what we've got coming out of him. We're seeing House dropped into mining camp, into villager gathering gold, so I'm expecting his next villager is going to go to food. Let's check and see. I want to see if his let's see his build order. No, he's got villagers going straight out to gold. Interesting strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off in the long run, rather. But we'll take a look down towards the south of the map. Viper going to be doing pretty decently at the moment as well. Looking to get out just a couple of villages on wood. So is he looking at potentially dropping down a Gur? I would 100% suspect it, considering he doesn't have the resources otherwise to invest in that gold. And I don't think he's a fan of long-distance mining at this point.
Yeah, long-distance mining is not really an option right now. Alternatively, you can think about the stable as well. Try to get some scouts out and try to harass that gold mine. That's a pretty far away gold mine from the town center, and it's also on the front. So Viper has all the things he needs to harass this gold mine.
And speaking of that gold mine, are we able to check the range on that town center just quickly? How... This is a little bit concerning. If Viper recognizes this, if he spots this, he could do a little bit of a switcheroo. And we do indeed see a barracks coming out here. You know what that tells me? That tells me we're probably going to have some towers coming out right now.
That's a nice approach. If I remember correctly, Viper played this against the Symptom right in the 2nd round
Correct.
of the qualifiers, and Viper almost died to that strategy.
Correct. Yes, so that was very concerning. Viper almost getting knocked out of the tournament against Symptom to this specific strategy. We see double pikemen now getting trained. Probably going to be moving out across the map. I'm expecting that we're probably going to see a few villages getting pulled out here as well. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe waiting for the 2nd batch just to secure it. But now we see the School of Cavalry going down in front of the town center. And keep in mind that Viper is in a significant lead here. He's on match point. Have a look at the gold spawns for Lucifron, though. Lucifron's got the gold spawn out the front, but then at the same time, double gold spawn behind him. This is very easy for Viper to get access to. So if Viper scouts this out, he's going to be able to shut down all of the golds for Lucifron with only one real option for him, and that would be the large gold mine, which is down to the southwest. So now we see Viper beginning to look for that gold. That's exactly what he wants to find. He's looking for that gold. He's hunting for it over towards the right side. His Khan goes to the left side. He spots it with his spears. He's very happy with himself, and now he's going to begin to do a bit of harassment as those spears get in there on those villages and say, hey, get off that gold.
And the bigger thing is that even if Lucifron abandons that gold mine, the spearman can just start burning down that mining camp, giving resources to Viper. And it looks like there is the village that you've been talking about for tower, which would just be an amazing tower for Viper. Not only does it deny the gold mine, it also denies the berries.
Yeah, this is incredibly strong. I wouldn't be surprised to see Viper go for a significant investment here, but we actually see a counter tower going to be coming up. But do note that there is going to be a small little window here where a tower is going to be able to be placed for Lucifron that is going to isolate that gold mine, but at the same time not be in range of that tower that Viper is putting up rather. Viper going to collect that bounty. He's happy with himself. He's going to be falling back. Now that tower going to get placed down, so you can see it's probably a little bit too far away from that gold mine, but it does give him a bit of a safe haven, I guess you could say. But yeah, quite a lot of potential damage. Now Viper going to be healing up that gold mine and continuing to push in and forcing idols. He's trying to force idols. Not going to happen though.
He's delaying Lucifron's feudal age quite a bit though, and that's pretty important because Viper invested a lot into his spearman plus the 4 villagers, so his feudal age is gonna be slower. You see he's just now building his deer stones, I believe. So he needs to delay the feudal age of the opponent here.
Yeah, this is a really interesting point. So this tower, I feel like this tower for Viper might have been a little bit too far away. I would have loved to have seen it just a couple tiles up to the northwest, just get it up to a bit more towards that Khan. And then that really is going to enable him to shut this down. Because right now, he's not going to be able to shoot it. And we actually see the villager doing his best to come in and get a little bit of an isolation here. But do note that that knight is going to come out very shortly. And that knight is going to hit those villagers over on that right flank. Let's see if Viper comes out. He does indeed bring over the scout. But he's actually going to get that one picked off. Oh my lord, it actually survived. He could have killed that very easily. But he chose not to.
Look at how Viper is harassing those gold miners. Slowly but surely they're going down. The villager goes down from Viper here. Lucifron charged him with the knight. That was beautiful.
Yeah, so I guess now that the attack is somewhat over, the gold is safe for Lucifron. Who do you think has won this engagement?
I still think it's Viper, because he's got a very, very nice staging ground for an attack. We have to mention the fact that he has been Darkish the whole time, so it's not like this is the full potential of his assault yet.
That's true. That is true. And the fact that he's got that staging ground there, he's gone up with the deer stones, means that he's got the Yam network enabled, and you can see those villagers or those spears getting lit up as they try and chase away those knights, and they've got so much damn speed on them. But keep in mind now, so we can see that attack radius on that all-important outpost. It reaches nowhere near close enough to those villagers, unfortunately. And Viper actually going to, or rather Lucifron, going to be taking the back gold here instead of taking more villagers onto the front. So continuing to expand out towards the north.
I feel like Viper isn't even going for gold denial. He might be going for food denial at this point. Because you see that Lucifron, he still has some sheep, but that's basically it. Not really a lot of access to hunt right now, and the berries are also gone.
Yeah. Lucifron's actually playing this quite well at this point. He's not really panicking, which is the correct play. Do not panic in this situation. He's playing it very methodically. Viper actually is going to be having to deal with chivalry because Lucifron has now picked that one up as well. And Lucifron doing a great job of just forcing the kite here, but you can see that these spears have actually got that buff, and look how much damage they're going to be able to do once they get in on top of those archers. Lucifron trying his hardest to get away and managing to survive with the majority of his archers there, and now falling back towards that tower you mentioned earlier. It's a beautiful staging ground for him. It's going to give him a little bit of safety.
It most definitely does, and as you said, the key thing here is that the spearman can actually chase the archers to a certain extent, thanks to that mobility, and that sort of buys some time for Viper until his own archers arrive on the battlefield.
Yeah, that's a massive importance as well. Gur going to be going down now for Viper on this eastern front, but the villagers have just moved over to the woodline. I'm not sure if that was intentional. Now we've got a little bit of a raid coming in here, so maybe that was the reason why he actually moved them back. Spotting that out, that's probably going to be it. Khan now going to be buffing up the movement speed of these spears. Look how fast they're damn moving. 1.44 movement speed. Actually, was that even the movement speed? That could have just been the standard attack speed buff. But getting on top of them, and you can see Lucifron in a difficult spot now. Overextending is definitely the name of the game here, and Lucifron has made a big mistake there. Now going to be overcommitting on stone at this point as well. Looking a bit concerning Going for a stone this early as well. This is really... I'm scratching my head a little bit here, Lytical.
Yeah, it's a... feels like he's scrambling for defense right now. He picks off the villager, that's a nice move, but as you said, stone here feels a little surprising at minimum, and I feel like he's just in the danger of being overrun by a flood of units.
Yeah. Survival techniques are going to be coming through now for Viper, so he's going to be looking to maximize his efficiency on that hunt. A couple of spears out there just to secure it as well. Very cognizant of the fact that there could be knights running down there any second. More knights now going to be coming out of that school of cavalry. And still Viper yet to cancel that outpost that's on the front line. So just leaving it up for the moment. That is 100 wood that is being soaked up there. But at the same time, it is potential threat that your opponent has got. And we'll have to continue paying attention to, because at any point in time, a villager could come up, could try and tap that. And we see that villager, double villagers now coming up for it as well. So interesting to note that Viper is still committing to that and finally cancels that one out.
He's not gonna give up on this aggression though, still tries to tower the berries, and at this point it's just a map control game. Lucifron was able to expand towards the hunt, but for now, he's off from gold, so he doesn't have a lot of knights to work with.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot for him. Interestingly, attack speed arrow getting thrown out here. I really feel like the movement speed attack is, or movement speed arrow is much better in this situation, just allowing your spears to get on top of the archers and do a fair bit of damage there. But now Lucifron actually going to be doing pretty well. A very favorable trade there. Probably the best trade that he's got all game at this point. Now going to be looking to pick up more villagers here. He gets one villager going down. Second villager manages to get up the outpost, but it does go down, unfortunately. And now Viper continuing to struggle as he makes his way over towards that outpost. He's got the first outpost. It's filled up with 4 units. Second outpost filled up with 4 as well. And he's going to have to call that one a day as he makes his way out of there. 3 HP on that knight, and undoubtedly we are going to be seeing that knight return to full HP very shortly.
Viper even grabbing arrow slits over here. As you said, his push stalled out a little bit, and we have to mention that he hasn't really been killing villagers this whole time. He has lost quite a few forward vills, however.
And now we've actually got ourselves a little bit of a scenario. So Viper actually spotted out those villagers moving towards that hunt over on the right-hand side of the map. So we saw a whole bunch of villagers move out there. So he could potentially, if he looks to push this and maintain a bit of an aggression or an aggressive stance here, he could isolate those villagers out and force a lot of idle time there. But now going to be making his way back towards the tower and just being really annoying against Lucifron. That's probably the best way to say it.
He is indeed forcing some inefficiency from Lucifron, but given the circumstances, Lucifron being at 38 villagers as compared to Viper's 32 is something that our blue player has to be very happy about.
Yeah, I think despite the score difference, now keep in mind, Viper is playing the Mongols, and the Mongols are a little bit buggy at the moment with their town center, and the way that it picks up and drops off, the score can kind of be deceptive. So don't trust the score when Viper is playing the Mongols. It's probably not best that you're looking at, but Lucifron definitely going to be feeling very good about that. Just the fact that he's got the villager bonus. He hasn't died yet, which is a really good thing. And to be honest, I don't feel a lot of damage has been done with this early push. Ideally, the goal that you want to achieve with this early push is deny gold from your enemy. He hasn't done that. He hasn't achieved that. Viper has not been able to do that. Lucifron has been gathering gold the whole time, and Viper really didn't identify those gold positions, didn't identify the appropriate tower positions either, and ideally should have been able to stop that, but unfortunately wasn't able to.
And a key thing is that it's one thing that he wasn't able to deny the gold because his opponent still has access to gold at the back. He wasn't even able to deny the food income. Lucifron is more than happy hunting on the left and the right at the same time. And for now, the French player is just sitting on an economy lead, which is not something that leads to anything positive for the Mongols.
Yeah, it is a very curious decision, but now we've got a couple of spears that are going to get the pretty decent charge out here. One of the knights going to be going down. Second knight doesn't go down. It looks like it's on low HP, managing to make an escape, but darts around those trees. And Lucifron now going to be heading towards the base of the Viper, looking to pick up some potential villager kills here.
Speaking of villager kills, Viper is coming in though, and this could be ugly. There isn't enough room for those villagers in the tower.
Yeah, attack speed going down. Managing to get off the first vill. Second vill going to be going down. Third villager going to be going down. And indeed, this is ugly. This is bad right now for Lucifron. Viper may be a little bit overextended up towards the north, but he does have this Khan here. He's outside of the Yam network aura. He's going to be losing a lot of villagers, but the question is it going to be worth it? those villagers go down, there is a window time now opening up, because if Lucifron is able to collect this, to make sure that this is caught appropriately, take out the Khan, take out all of those archers, there is a big window for him to potentially capitalize on this.
Yeah, the economies have now evened out, but Lucifron has the opportunity to clean up Viper's entire army, so suddenly he would have a massive advantage army-wise.
Yeah, this is a big difference. And so now Viper's going to be losing that military advantage. We'll take a look at what the populations are now. So Viper sitting at 55 population, Lucifron sitting at 65. So a significant advantage for him. They're having a larger military pop, a larger villager pop as well, I would expect. We're at 42 and 18 and 40 and 13. So a big difference there. And now Viper going to continue to retreat down away from his enemy's base. And we see that raid going to be coming in towards the gold mine. And Lucifron decides, you know what, I don't want to bother losing. These two knights are already low enough HP. I don't want to lose them. He backs out, and Viper going to be heading up to the 3rd age. What are we going to have drop down? It is the Step Redoubt.
Looks like we're also going to have additional stables added, so Viper is going to try to make a transition to Lancers, which normally wouldn't really work well against the French, because the French will have amazing knights. But the problem here for Lucifron will be that he's still in Feudal Age and he's pretty far away from castle right now. Also, the reinforcements are getting intercepted by those towers.
Yeah, this is very cheeky. Those arrow slits on those towers are just doing plenty. And oh my lord, so close, that Khan almost taking a shot to the face, but managing to get inside that outpost. Very, very fortunate.
Looks like just enough room here for Viper's villagers, so no one's gonna go down. Lucifron is doing his best to do some sort of aggression here, but the main problem he's facing is that Viper is getting up to Castle Age, and those first few Lancers will be extremely impactful against an army that's mostly archers.
Yeah, and I'm expecting that's exactly what we're going to see. It's going to be men-at-arms plus Lancers. We take a look at what buildings we've got out here. We've got double stable, Lancer, we've got 2 archery ranges, and we've got a barracks. So do expect to see very shortly through plenty of units coming out, flooding the field. And now look at this. Lucifron going to be dropping down a ram. Kind of dangerous against the Mongols. They can just pick things up and move them.
Is this a Hail Mary from Lucifron, knowing that his opponent is in Castle Age and it's an hour never game?
I think it might be. He's going to try his best to get this ram out here. Ram going to begin to move in. I don't think there's any way this works. The town center combined with the villagers, especially this is a bad angle. The villagers are very easily able to pop out the town center and hit that ram. Lancer's going to be coming out and looking to connect now on this army. The spear's getting in on top and now moving across over towards the archers on the back line. Viper doing his best to try and micro in and out. Lancer's now getting on top. The villagers chasing away that ram. That ram's going to be going down. Ram gets exploded right now. And those Lancers continue to follow around those archers. And Lucifron having a difficult time right now, moving in on top of them. And we see Viper's army just completely destroying the army that remains of Lucifron. Those Lancers are going to continue to funnel in now. I suspect we're going to have even more units. Veteran archers now coming in. Lucifron in a commanding loss. But now Lucifron tapping out. Viper moves through to the next round. Good game gets called. Ladies and gentlemen, you have your semi-finalists. You know who's going to be playing tomorrow.